Good morning, everybody. Happy Wednesday. Welcome to the BoricuaBC 2 show, the morning report. I am your host, Bill Cancel. Just a quick announcement on some good news. We're actually changing the formatting of the morning report. I will continue to provide daily updates as far as the latest news from Donald Trump, but I'm also going to be adding a separate segment for every day of the week to talk about other things as well as the morning report. Mondays, we'll be having Momentum Monday, which is going to talk about the news of the week that you should be watching for. Tuesday is going to be the truth test, the page that we do some fact checking about GOP claims. Today, Wednesday, will be Midweek Madness, where we're going to recount some of the craziest Republican news stories that are out there. Thursdays will be the Blue Bench, which we're going to talk about the latest and greatest blue Democratic leaders that are coming to help us in our battle. Um, Friday will be Fact Check Friday, which pretty much goes unexplained. Um, Saturday will be the Red State Watch Day, which what's happening in these red states. Sunday will be Gaslight of the Day, um, to highlight some of the biggest gaslighting stories that are out there. So come back and join us every day because there's going to be different things that we're obviously going to be talking about each day of the week. I just wanted to do that to kind of break the monotony of just reporting on Donald Trump news. I think while it's important that we all know that, there's a lot of other things we need to do that we need to know about. And I really want to make sure that I'm bringing as much information, valuable information to all of you out there as I possibly can. So let's get started. As far as the top five stories for today, I'm watching for Trump. Trump signals major shift on China tariffs. This is interesting. For the guy who doesn't back down and claims he doesn't back down, I think he's really finally realized that he's getting his head handed to him with China. One thing I'm noticing about this is that Trump is making a move, but I haven't heard China making any moves to go ahead with this, right? So he's still thinking if they can cut a deal, they'll reduce the tariffs and so on and so forth. But I don't see China blinking still. I think China's going to hold them and hang them out to dry for quite some time until they get what they want, which is going to really be horrific for Trump as far as having this as considered a complete and total loss and failure. So watch out for that. The markets rallied up yesterday very well because of Trump seeming to back off on firing Jerome Powell. So there was a little bit of confidence there. I don't know if you saw the clip that Trump said he had no intention on firing Jerome Powell, and he won't be looking to fire Jerome Powell. So that's kind of interesting. More lawsuits again from law firms challenging Trump's executive orders. I think this is great that the legal community has now finally decided to stand up to Donald Trump. And if these lawsuits get his attention, maybe he'll make some changes in what it is that he's trying to accomplish here. So I think that's really good. Um, this one I'm not quite sure about yet, but the Trump and First Lady Melania are to attend Pope Francis's funeral. I'm sorry to say this. I believe that when I see it. The only reason why I say that is because Trump likes to be the center of attention, and the Pope's funeral, the Pope is going to be the center of attention. So I'm not quite sure how he's going to be able to pull that off. If he does, though, sadly, I would absolutely predict he will do something so embarrassing just to get the center of attention on himself. I don't know what that looks like. I don't know what it could possibly be, but I would absolutely suspect it would happen. So see what's happening there. Another thing that I found very interesting in the news today is that international populists are distancing themselves from Trump. Once considered a right-wing populist, a lot of these right-wing leaders across the world are starting to distance themselves from Donald Trump because they see the cancer that he is, and they see the maniac that he is. And again, what I find shocking about this whole thing is that Trump, who loves the adulation constantly, doesn't see how quickly he's getting isolated. I mean, in a few short weeks, just look at the tariffs. In a few short weeks, the world has completely isolated the United States regarding the tariffs. They've cut their own deals. I saw yesterday some countries cut deals with other countries for 15 years. How do we come back from that? Right. So I'm starting to think that a lot of these other world leaders are thinking that he's just old news and bad news, and they don't want to be a part of him because it's going to affect their reputation to be leaders in the future. And just looking at his run rate, why would you want to even associate with somebody like Trump? It just doesn't make any sense. So those are the top five stories that I'm watching for today. Now let's get into the section of Midweek Madness. So we're just going to talk about some Republican nonsense that's happening. And you might ask yourself, Bill, why are you talking about Republican madness? We really don't care. Yeah, we do care. I think it's very important that we understand what the right is doing, because they have such a great reputation of sneaking things under the carpet, sweeping things under the carpet, without us knowing about it. And they're the deflection kings, right? So they'll put a big shiny object over here someplace so that you could see it, so that nobody can see it while they're doing all this dirty work underneath here. So my goal on this segment every Wednesday is going to be to bring out some of those stories so that people say, "Oh God, look at this! They're still trying to do this." And I think it's important that we get to know what that is. So right off the bat, Tennessee Republicans move to eliminate DEI programs. This is no surprise. DEI is the big shiny object now for the Republicans that they want to remove it anywhere. So Tennessee is now jumping in. Um, they want to prohibit consideration of race, sex, or age in hiring decisions and ban DEI offices in public institutions, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Where have we heard that before? The White House, right? So there's no surprise that Tennessee is following suit on this. Um, Donald Trump, this is a kind of an overlap, but Trump asserted he's entitled to deport individuals without judicial proceedings. This is interesting. So he thinks as president, he's entitled to deport people without judicial proceedings. If you go back in history, and I saw some of these numbers this morning, the amount of deportations that took place under Biden, uh, Trump first term, and Obama his two terms are big numbers. I mean, big numbers. We're in the millions we're talking about here, right? All of them had due process. So why we have had it for such big numbers, and now Trump thinks suddenly he can't have it for his little number is extremely disturbing. He wants just the power to deport. He doesn't care about rights. He doesn't care about due process or any of that. He just wants the power to deport. And I think that that's going to turn a very ugly cheek for him. Um, Republican-led Project 2025 faces backlash. We all know that 2025 was coming. Before the election. We were warning about it way before the election. We warned about it immediately after the election, and Project 2025 is now here being delivered. The concern is that it's going to erode away from checks and balances, which we're also seeing today. Okay, because again, if you don't want to give people due process, that's an erosion of checks and balances. If you can't have Congress watching the Senate watching Congress, both of them watching the White House, that's an erosion of checks and balances. That's a problem that we need to really, really focus on. Um, Next up, because of course this makes top priority, Republicans are pushing to make 2017 tax cuts permanent because that's exactly what this country needs right now, right? The country's falling apart economically. People are starving. Groceries have not gone down. Eggs haven't gone down, even though Mr. Trump claims that they have. That's not reality. People are suffering financially. We're on the fringe of a recession right now. We are on the fringe of economic collapse right now. We have lost our reputation on the global stage as a senior player in the global stage, but yet the top priority now is pushing those 2017 tax cuts extensions and making them permanent, making the rich more richer and the poor more poor. I mentioned this story because in a bizarre kind of way, I really want people to get pissed off because pissed off people fight. And you need to keep this reminder, somewhere in the back of your head that this is today's Republican Party. They still don't care. It's whatever they think is true is golden and is true, and that's it. They don't care about the average person. And stories like this about making the 2017 tax cuts permanent is extremely telling as to what their agenda is. Also, there's one story out of Wisconsin, passed a bill to restrict unemployment benefits, including measures that critics say creates unnecessary obstacles for jobless individuals. So again, how do you help American people who are unemployed by taking away their unemployment benefits? How does that make America great? It doesn't make America great. It makes people homeless. It makes people drug addicts. It makes people do crazy things and so on and so forth. It doesn't do anything to make, America great. Now, I understand the argument from the Republicans that we just have to have people who work and so on and so forth. I understand that, but not everybody is able to do that. So again, it's that mentality, if I could help one person, by the Democrats will help them. If one person takes advantage of a situation, then the whole program has to go down. That's the Republican way. And that's what they're doing here. It's another prime example of again, Republican nonsense as to how they operate. So I hope you enjoyed today's segment, folks. This is the way it's going to be for the next few weeks. We're going to try this out. Tomorrow is the Blue Benefit Show, the Blue Ben Show. We're going to discuss the rising stars in the Democratic Party. So after the daily news update, so I hope forward you're looking forward to that. And again, super excited. Tomorrow is the Canadians are back. We have a show scheduled at 12 noon tomorrow to discuss where they're at with their election. Their election is on the 28th. So it'll be interesting to get their perspective as to what they're feeling, being we just kind of went through it in November. So I'm looking forward to that show. I think it's going to be a great show, same cast of crew. So it should be great, and we hope to see you out there. Everybody grab your coffee, get your morning started. Catch up tomorrow. Bye.